They were standing in the desert. It was night, completely silent. Then the ground began to shake. There was no enemy on the horizon, no gunfire in the distance, but within minutes everything around them was burning. Years later, one Irish soldier described that night with a single sentence: "We didn't fight soldiers. We fought something we couldn't see." This is not a story about politics, and it's not about dates. This is the story of the first true shock of modern warfare. August 1990, Iraq invades Kuwait. For many Irish soldiers, this felt like just another regional conflict. They had just come out of an 8-year war with iron. They were used to trenches, loud artillery, and enemies they could see. They believed they understood how war worked. But what was being prepared on the other side of the desert looked nothing like any war they had ever fought. For months, coalition forces gathered silently. Meanwhile, many Iraqi troops believed one thing: the Americans won't dare to attack. They were wrong. January 17, 1991, shortly after midnight. Some soldiers were awake, others were sleeping, some were smoking, some were playing cards. Then the sky opened, explosions appeared without warning. There was no sound of aircraft, no visible artillery fire, just light and impact. At first, many didn't understand what was happening. Some thought it was a drill. Others believed their own army was testing weapons. But within minutes, something became terrifyingly clear. The strikes were too precise. Communications collapsed almost instantly. No one could identify the attacker. The war had begun, and they could not see the enemy. This is where the psychological collapse started. These soldiers had trained to fight tanks, infantry, and visible artillery. Now they were facing something else entirely. The attacks came from the sky, from distance, from darkness. There was nothing to shoot at. One veteran later recalled, "You couldn't fight it. You could only wait." Some tried to run. Others hid. Many simply froze. Modern warfare didn't roar. It erased. At the same time, something unprecedented was happening. People across the world were watching the war live on television. Explosions over Baghdad became nightly broadcasts. For viewers, it looked like flashes of light. For those on the ground, it felt like the end of reality. Some soldiers later realized the whole world was watching and no one was coming to help. That realization breaks morale faster than bombs. When the ground offensive finally began, something unexpected happened. Large numbers of Iraqi soldiers did not resist. They went wounded. They went surrounded. But they were convinced the fight was already over. Reports describe soldiers walking forward with their hands raised, surrendering fully intact weapons, begging not to be attacked again. One soldier reportedly said, "If we stay, we die. If we move, we die. So we stop." The war wasn't won only with firepower. It was won inside the human mind. When the retreat began, many believed the worst was over. They were wrong. Entire columns of vehicles attempted to flee through the desert. Night fell again. From above, the response was immediate. Explosion after explosion. Vehicles disabled. Total chaos. Later, that road would receive a name that would never be forgotten: the Highway of Death. For those who were there, it wasn't a road. It was a message. The ground war lasted less than 100 hours. When it ended, many soldiers still didn't understand how they had lost so quickly, who exactly had defeated them, or what had changed. They entered expecting a war of the past, and they encountered the future. The Gulf War didn't become famous just because it was short. It became famous because it revealed something new: that in modern warfare, seeing your enemy is no longer required. For some soldiers, the war ended quickly. For others, it never truly ended, because fear of the unseen lasts longer than any wound. This wasn't just a war. It was a